WHO is divided among 6 regions. However, there are several political and trade arrangements within or across these regions, such as Unasur. What is your stance regarding the importance of these different arrangements in the WHO policy? Do you consider that they may interfere with the predefined WHO regional boundaries? What would be your strategy towards the South American bloc? Dr. Tedros.
Yeah, I think for me, Unasur is a very good opportunity. And if WHO can use it properly, it can benefit from it. That's what I believe. And as you know, in Unasur's structure, you have the Leaders Summit, you have the Foreign Ministers, and you have the Health Ministers Council. And if we use this mechanism, we can achieve many things. And that's why I said WHO should take it as actually advantageous to what it's trying to achieve. I will give you some examples. For instance, the resolutions and so on that are passed, it could be in New York or it could be in Geneva. In order to enforce them, you can use this political organization. Because I said earlier, WHO is not just technical, it's also a political organization. And many of the agenda items it has, it can bring it directly to Unasur. So the countries here can agree on these resolutions and also enforce them, implement them throughout South America. So it's a very good advantage, actually. And then the other advantage it could have is to share experience among its members, but not only sharing experiences, but to follow it to implement at scale. Because when it's implemented at scale, you can have a better impact. And this kind of organization can make that happen. Not only sharing, but implementing it at scale. And the other advantage is you can use this mechanism to show your experiences to other regions. For instance, the African Union. To learn from what you're doing, you have many good examples on fighting NCDs. And you have many good examples on the conditional fund, which we were talking about. Many examples on primary health care and universal health coverage. You have progressed a lot, so you can share your experience with others. This mechanism can help by working with African Union, which is another political organization. But not only that, through this organization, you can also learn from others. And in addition to that, I think this kind of organization can also bring accountability. So WHO actually should really use mechanisms like Unasur or institutions like Unasur to achieve the big outcomes, especially the SDGs. Unless we do them this way, I don't think we will make it happen. By the way, one experience, my own experience I have is through the same mechanism, if we take African Union as equivalent to Unasur, the CDC Africa was proposed by Ethiopia. And I was actually the one who proposed it. And it was agreed, and we have now CDC Africa with its branches, and this was a political decision by our leaders to prevent the next epidemics of Ebola or something else from striking. And it was the political decision that speeded up the formation of this organization. And we need Unasur and other political organizations to ensure political commitment and to have a political push to achieve things which significantly or in a palpable way.
Thank you,
This
Dr.
could be
Tedros.
true for ASEAN and other political organizations, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Tedros. Dr. Nabarro.
Thank you very much indeed. So the way I view this, Karina, is as follows. The central element in all work for health and for people's development is the nation. And the United Nations, regional bodies like the African Union, sub-regional groups like Unasur or Mesa, these are groups that help nations achieve their objectives through solidarity and collective work on political, on technical, and on developmental issues. And then a technical specialized agency like WHO is there to serve. It's there to provide what you need in your nations, what you need in your sub-regional and regional political organizations to help you to do what you need. I'll give you an example. When I was working initially with Kofi Annan on avian influenza, he asked me to meet up with the members of different Southeast Asian political groupings to help them to deal with the challenge posed by avian influenza on their own decision-making. They were worried after SARS, and they were saying, how can we actually come together to make sure that we're not going to be into a difficult situation because of avian influenza? And the answer was to plug WHO regional offices into the work of the Southeast Asia different organizations, but not to in any way try to force the political bodies to align behind the particular structures of WHO regions. So, in summary, the primary unit is the national body. The secondary and equally important is the political union between nations. And then WHO, with its regional organizations, has to align itself to what nations and their sub-regional political bodies want and need. And in my work in the United Nations with Ban Ki-moon over 10 years, I've had to do this on many issues, whether it's infectious diseases, food and nutrition, or indeed other aspects of the Sustainable Development Agenda. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Nabarro. Dr. Nishtar.
Well, thank you very much for that important question. I'd like to begin by saying that countries are divided on the basis of different regional groupings all over the world. So one country may find itself as part of several groups at one particular time. And I think that in Latin America and the Caribbean and in the broader Americas, this is a phenomena which can be beautifully highlighted. So you have Unasur, you have Mercosur, you have SICA, you have COMSICA, you have GRUA and CELA and CARICOM and the wider CARICOM, the name of which I cannot recall at the moment. And I think that is the beauty of these organizations. In your particular setting, in Latin America, with all these Latin American groupings, you have been able to achieve so much, particularly with reference to the access to medicines problem. Your initiatives to focus on joint pooling and strategic procurement and to bring down prices of medicines and to make that work for equity in your countries was because you had the regional levers to be able to talk and to be able to pool policy and to be able to take joint action. So this is a very long-winded way of answering this question, to say that I do not think that these regional groupings interfere with predefined regional boundaries at all. It is, in fact, on the contrary, because they facilitate WHO's work in many different ways. They facilitate the furthering of your policy objectives, and it's a question of where you can exploit synergy at a particular time. My vision for a new WHO is centered on the notion of partnerships, where WHO plays its strategic role and becomes a force multiplier by playing its unique role. And I would very much encourage and facilitate and be supportive of these regional groupings. And in any case, as candidates, we go to all these regions and we've become experts at these regional groupings. So I would very much look forward to working with them. I would, in fact, go a step further, because I think there is a lot of potential in getting the regional groups to talk to each other. For instance, getting, as Tedros rightly said, getting Unasur to talk to AFRO, and getting the SARC group to talk to the CARICOM, and there are lots of synergies that can be exploited. In any case, I see one of WHO's main roles as that of a strategic convener, which is why I have put forward the notion of the Director General's virtual roundtables, so that the Director General can engage with groups like you, can engage with other groups and countries and partners, and look at problems one at a time and work out a recipe of solving those problems and see how the different players will play in with their particular comparative advantage. So I am very, very supportive of that. And in terms of my own experience, in the South Asian Association of Regional Collaboration, I used health as an entry point to peace, and that I'm very humbled and honored to be known for that work. In all my multilateral work at WHO within the United Nations systems, I have continued to tap the rich potential of these regional organizations, and I'm sure that PAHO would very much, that WHO headquarter in PAHO would be very much on the same page with regard to tapping this potential.
Thank you, Dr.